Hello everyone, back into today's first video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's first video. So that's going to take us to around the 12th of July, day 10. We'll be able to extend out beyond that. The extended GFS and ECM ensembles may run to around a couple of weeks. So we'll have a look at Beijing climate change next 40 days. That'll take us into August as well in the second part of the video. Very good, I was going to say hello and thank you so much to latest channel member for GavsWeatherVids. So we have now reached 40 channel members. All channel members are going to get shout outs in coming videos. But I'm going to say for today, hello and thank you so much to Alan Petruge. Thank you so much, Alan, for becoming a channel member for GavsWeatherVids. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Alan, for doing that. And I say all channel members are going to get a shout out in coming videos as well, or all new channel members will do so. So thank you so much to all of our channel members. Thank you so much to all of our patrons and all of our donors as well. What you've done for GavsWeatherVids is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much to all of you. And yeah, big thank you to Alan. So we reached 7k subs yesterday. You didn't hear the news. We reached 7k subs just before the live stream yesterday. We had a little bit of a celebration during the live stream. We also released a video late last night just saying thank you so much to all of you. So yes, we are currently hovering around 7,010 subscribers. So we've done it. We've reached our 7k sub target. The next target, I suppose, the next milestone is going to be 8,000 subs. But quite when we get to that, I'm not sure. I'm not going to set any more targets for the time being. That is for sure. Later on in July, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. So I'll have the dates. Well, I'm going to be taking off for everybody in the live stream on Sunday. So yeah, more detail about that coming up. I think there was like a bit of a idea that I'd hit 7k subs and I'd be off immediately. It's not going to be quite that abrupt. Don't worry, I'm going to carry on uploading for the next few days. But later on in the month, I will be having a few days off and have a bit of a break. And I'll have dates for everybody with that in the live stream on Sunday. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. We've reached 7k subs. Obviously, if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Click subscribe and don't forget to enable all notifications as well. But I'm going to ease off. I'm going to ease off plugging the subs for the time being. I think you have a little bit of a rest from doing that. Right, so let's get on video then. Big thank you to Alan, as I say, for becoming a channel member of GavsWeatherVids. Big thank you to all channel members, patrons, donors, subscribers, and however you support GavsWeatherVids. Clicking like on the video, letting us know in the comments what you think, sharing the videos, however you support us. Big thank you to all of you. Right then, let's get on then. We're going to start off with Central England temperature. So the CET is currently provisional up to yesterday, 1st of July, for the first day of the month, standing at 17.9. I'm surprised it's this warm, actually. I didn't think it felt very warm at all yesterday. I thought it was quite a chilly day yesterday. But for the 1st of July, the CET comes in at 17.0, an anomaly of 1.4 degrees above average. June was warmer than average as well. We confirmed that. 15.3 was the CET for June. That's 1.2 degrees above average, around a degree above 61 to 1990 average. All months so far during this year have been warmer than average. We have January at 6.4, 2.5 degrees above average. February at 6.3, again 2.5 degrees above average. March at 6.7, 1 degree above average. April at 10.4, 2.5 degrees above average. May at 12.5, again around a degree above average. June 15.3, again around a degree above average. July so far, only for one day, is around 1.5 degrees above average. I say I'm surprised it's that warm. I didn't think it felt all that warm yesterday, but perhaps had a very high minimum or something overnight, overnight, Tuesday to Wednesday, perhaps something like that happened. But anyway, it's been a very warm first half to 2020. Obviously, if this carries on in the second half of the year, big if, but if it does, we will have to start thinking about 2020 being the warmest year on record. But got a long way to go before that happens. It only takes a couple of colder months, and that will scupper that idea. But certainly the first half, anyway, 2020 has been really warm. Not sure it's going to be all that much in way of warm weather in the next week to 10 days, though. These are the 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts from Penn State University for the next week to 10 days, with the ECMWF on the top and the GFS on the bottom. So 500 millibars is an area in the actually high pressure, low pressure being moved around by the jet stream. Red and orange extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. So these are mean flow charts for the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us to around the 12th of July. And we see it with the ECMWF. We've got an area of above average heights up to our northwest and over across southeastern, eastern parts of Europe. And then in between, just bringing in this sort of slack, westerly type flow. Certainly doesn't look particularly settled. Could be a little bit on the unsettled side. That could be a little bit on the showery side. The GFS suggests more of a north-south split, really. So we have below average heights up to the north through here. Low pressure to the north. High pressure is to the south. And winds are sort of westerly and quite flat. Bring like a flat westerly type flow there with the GFS. The driest weather with that would be in the south. Obviously, the most unsettled weather would be in the north, and all areas would be at risk of some showers anyway, but the most settled weather would be in the north. Would be warmest in the south too, close to that ridge of high pressure. These are GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks for Aberdeen across northern Scotland today. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Aberdeen. And we're starting off a bit below average at the moment. Temperature is going to lift up as we go through to the end of the week, but it's associated with low pressure. Then into the weekend and early next week, we go quite cool again. And really through to the middle of July, this period just here, through to the middle of July, there's no sign of a return to sustain warm weather. So it looks like the upper air temperatures are either sort of average or probably a little bit below average. For the north, it does look quite unsettled too. So, yeah, plenty of precipitation spikes coming up over the next few days. And quite a few precipitation spikes going to the second week of July up to the middle part of the month as well. So certainly for the northern half of the country, things are looking quite unsettled there. I can show you the ensemble for London, actually, and compare that. So this is the ensemble for London, and you can see that it isn't as unsettled. There are still some precipitation spikes though, so even there are going to be some showers around, but nowhere near as unsettled for London down in the south as it is for Aberdeen up in the north. This tells us we have probably got a little bit of a north-south split to deal with here, with northern areas getting the most unsettled weather and the driest weather tending to be in the south. But even in the south, it's not going to be completely dry, and temperatures don't look particularly exciting, I have to say. Temperature anomalies from the 2nd to the 10th of July. Overall a little bit cooler than average, so below average temperatures coming up for the next week. Yes, it does look like quite a cool week to come. That's the case through most of northern and western Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies from the 2nd to 10th of July. Wetter than average up in the north, a little bit drier than average down in the south. So definite indications of a north-south split there. Most of the solar conditions up in the north, driest weather is down in the south. This is the current situation in terms of the wind flow and upper level winds from earthnullschool.net. So we're between low pressures really today, although we have got a trough across the country which will produce further showers. But essentially we've got a low pressure up here. There's one area of low pressure moving away to the northeast. And of course the next major area of low pressure is just here out to the west and the northwest of the country. That's a very significant area of low pressure this time of year, and it will bring in plenty of wet and windy weather into the north and west through the course of tomorrow. You can see very well defined frontal system with that as well. So that's where the main weather front is along this area of low pressure. And behind that, of course, we bring in these west-northwest winds, and lots of showers will be feeding in behind that system. Where we've got this sort of trailing convergence just here, then more areas of low pressure will remain possible through there. Azores High is centred around here, of course, perhaps a little bit southwest of its normal summer position. So, yes, an unsettled scene. Atlantic-driven weather is going to be in control for the time being, and that area of low pressure is going to be with us tomorrow, particularly bring wet and windy weather to northern and western parts of the country. This hour UK Met is looking for Sunday, so still unsettled by Sunday. The next low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic overnight, Saturday into Sunday. Quite warm down in the south. We will have southwesterly wind there, but cool and unsettled up in the north. By the time we get through to Monday, this is midnight Monday, we're pushing a cold front southeast, which probably is a weakening feature, but as it clears through, we'll be left with showers for Monday and quite a cool northwesterly wind as well. Then we go through into Tuesday and Wednesday, and on Tuesday we do try to get a little bit of a ridge from the Azores High building in, but we've got this spoiler low just here. There's a spoiler low out to the west of the country, and that sort of moves in, particularly to the northern half of the country on Wednesday. Down in the south, again, probably not too bad down there. Could be some reasonably dry and warm weather for the south, but most parts of the country, particularly central northern areas, turning cool and wet again through the middle part of next week. This is how the GFS is looking for Sunday. Again, quite unsettled. Driest and warmest weather will be down in the south, but most places can expect at least a little bit of rain over this weekend, and particularly so up in the north. By Monday, that low pressure clears away to Scandinavia, and we pull in this cool and showery northwesterly wind. Then another little ridge building up from the southwest on Tuesday. So Tuesday is a slightly drier day, but in comes the next low pressure from the northwest from the Atlantic on Wednesday. That's particularly affecting northern and western parts of the country. Down in the south, England and Wales, actually looks reasonably dry and quite warm there. Into the second half of next week, well, low pressure then breaks through across the country, so after a warmer, drier interlude through the middle of the week down in the south, it probably turns cool and showery again. The second half of next week, and then running up towards day 10, again, quite changeable, really, with between areas of low pressure, one low pressure moving away to Scandinavia, the next low pressure's out in the winds in the Atlantic. All looking rather slack, rather cool and showery up to day 10, which is Sunday, the 12th of July. Beyond that, well, low pressure continues to rule the roost, really, as we move into the middle part of July. Stays cool and unsettled. No sign of a sustained spell of dry and warm weather with the GFS before the middle of July, possibly even into the second half of July. No sign from the GFS of a sustained warm and dry weather. This July could be turning into quite a disappointing month from a summer perspective. GEM looks like that. Again, down in the south, reasonably dry and quite warm over the weekend, although some showery bursts are possible. Up in the north, it is more unsettled with this area of low pressure and a lot cooler up there as well. By Monday, we're all in this showery push of northwesterly winds. They'll be quite cool as well. Tuesday, a little bit of an extension from the Azores High brings some drier and warm weather to the south. In the middle part of next week, up in the north, does still look quite changeable. To the second half of next week, again, sort of higher pressure, not high pressure, but higher pressure to the south. So, again, could be reasonably dry and quite warm down in the south. Up in the north, though, it does look like it stays cool and unsettled with the gem. That's how we're going to get to day 10. Maybe just slight signs of a little bit of a more defined ridge building up from the southwest end. I think the GEM is a drier and potentially slightly warmer scenario compared to GFS in particular, and that's particularly so down in the south. The ECMWF is looking like this. So again, on Sunday, suggests unsettled conditions up in the north, the driest weather probably down in the south. Into Monday, showery northwesterly winds and quite cool as well. Tuesday, a little bit of a ridge from the Azores High. Could bring some dry, warm weather through the middle part of next week into the south. But for the north, I think it still looks pretty changeable there. Second half of next week, not too bad actually for more southern and eastern areas. This isn't as unsettled as the GFS is for the second half of next week. So for southern and eastern areas, we've still got the 1020 millibar isotherm there across the country. Excuse me. So a reasonable amount of dryish and quite warmish weather continuing into the second half of next week for the south. But, excuse me, again, in the northwest, it does look a little bit showery and a little bit on the cool side. And eventually, by day 10, that low pressure is breaking through across the country, bringing quite cool and showery weather back to most parts of the country. Nevertheless, I think the GEM and the ECM are the drier and warmer of the model runs for next week for more southern and east areas. In the north, though, I have to emphasise, in the north and the northwest, it looks like it continues quite cool and unsettled throughout next week. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com. So we've got heavy showers across parts of the country today, particularly England and eastern parts of Wales. Tomorrow, wet and windy weather piling in from off the Atlantic, associated with that low pressure that we saw on the 3D image of Noel School a moment ago. So probably wet and windy into many parts of the country tomorrow. The far southeast manages to stay mainly dry there, but north and west, quite an autumnal type feel tomorrow. Into the weekend, the most unsettled weather is up in the north. The driest weather is down in the south and in the southeast too. And then into the early part of next week, we go into those northwesterly winds. They continue to bring showers into the north and the west. The south gets the driest weather. And then through the middle part of next week, it tends to dry out through most parts of the country, although some showers through the middle part of next week, particularly in the north and the west. But there's quite a bit of dry weather on offer through next week. Until later on, when it starts to turn more generally wet and windy again up in the north and the west. But always driest weather in the south and the southeast. So the ECM does keep things mainly dry for much of the south, actually for the next week to 10 days. Remember, the GFS is a lot more unsettled, though, for the south, particularly from the second half of next week. It's quite a tricky forecast to judge this, because the devil really is in the detail. The broad theme is that the most unsettled weather will be in the north and the west, and that's where the coolest weather will be too. The driest and warmest weather will be in the south and in the southeast and in the east. But the devil is in the detail with that, because at times there will, even in the south and southeast, there will be some showery bursts pushing through. So day by day detail is going to be all important with this sort of pattern. It's neither a very, very unsettled pattern. It's not a 2012 or 2007 washout summer pattern, but neither is it a settled pattern. Sort of somewhere in between. And when it gets like that, when weather gets like that, then the devil really is in the detail. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. Gets us to the 12th of July. So the broad theme is that we've got above average heights out to our west, and we're bringing them in from a northwesterly direction. But of course, within that, there's a lot of detail that has to be firmed up on. Basically, it's most unsettled in the north and west. It's driest and warmest in the south and southeast. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This gets us to the 17th of July. Now, these don't look very good at all. We have 21 members of the ECM ensembles with an area of above average height centred through the Atlantic and going up to Greenland. A trough of below average heights is parked right over the top of the country. That leaves us bringing in a cool northwesterly wind, and obviously at a trough of low pressure, it's very unsettled too. So that's actually getting worse. Actually getting worse from an unsettled perspective into the second half of July. This one doesn't look very good either. 18 members of the ECM ensembles again have below average heights, low pressure centred over and to the east of the country. Above average heights are pulled out to the middle of the Atlantic. Winds are in from the north, cool and unsettled with that option too. And then 12 have a ridge just to our west-southwest. That's obviously the most settled scenario. And, I mean, it's not particularly warm because we're bringing them in from the northwest, but at least that does provide us with some shelter from the Atlantic and gives us slightly drier weather. But, I mean, if we put the 21 together here with the 18 here, it looks like the ECM ensembles are trending increasingly cool and wet into the second half of July. So that is very, very worrying. You know, from a summer perspective and from a GavsWeatherVids summer forecast perspective as well, we want to be seeing signs of high pressure getting increasingly strong as we go into the second half of July. But that's going completely the other way. So that's not very good at all. It's 2 weeks out. It's a long way out. So we'll just continue to monitor that, see how it develops. Finally, the 500 millibar high dynamic flow charts from the Beijing Climate Center next 40 days looking like this. The first 10-day period, it's broke down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us from the 1st to the 10th of July. The coming 10 days unsettled. Low pressure is dominating. Obviously, below average heights, low pressure in to our north and west brings showers or longer spells of rain and cool temperatures too. The next 10-day period takes us from the 11th to the 20th of July. Low pressure is out to our west. Some higher pressure beginning to build to our east. So that's trying to break us out of the unsettled weather, turn us a little bit drier and warmer, but probably actually still quite unsettled even through that 10-day period, I think. The next 10-day period looks a little bit more promising. This is the 21st of July to the 30th, with above average heights then building to our north and northwest. Still some lower pressure down here, but I think that is starting to turn us a little bit drier, potentially a little bit warmer too through the final 10 days of July. And then finally, the last 10-day period looks quite encouraging. This is the 31st of July to the 9th of August, with a big area of above average heights and high pressure setting up over to the northwest of the country and also to our northeast. That's a large area of high pressure we've got there. Winds are coming in from the east. Easterlies in August should be pretty warm, I would have thought. This trough of low pressure just here may threaten some thunder into the south, but overall it does look as though later on in July, late July into August, the emphasis shifts much more towards higher pressure, bringing potentially drier and warmer conditions. But of course, that's a really long way off. It's days 31 to 40, so it's in the deeply, deeply unreliable time frame. And the more immediate time frame looks quite cool and showery, I have to say, through the first sort of 10 days, 2 weeks of July. There's no sign of a sustained spell of dry and warm weather until we get to the middle of the month. And if the ECL ensembles are on something, then it might actually deteriorate as we get to the middle of the month and on into the second half. Those ECL ensembles do look a little bit worrying, I have to say, for week 2 from a summer perspective, but it is a long way off. So that's how it's looking, but definitely is going to be in the detail with this next week and in the next week to 10 days, because it's a complex pattern, although it's relatively straightforward in broad terms, with the north and west mostly set up the south and southeast getting the warmest, driest weather. But the devil is in the detail with that, because at times there will be some showery bursts even getting into the south. Conversely, it won't be a complete washout up in the north. There will be some drier days even for more northern areas. So we're not talking about a 2012 or a 2007 pattern here, where it's an absolute deluge and it's just day after day of continuous incessant rain. But we're certainly not talking about a classic warm, dry summer pattern either. So we're somewhere in the middle, like fair to middling, I suppose, really. And yeah, it's going to be complex to forecast this pattern, I think, through the first half of July. Maybe 1 or 2 indications of a bit of a deterioration from the ECL ensembles by the middle of the month and the second half of the month, but that's a long way off. Okay, so that's it for today's Week 10 video update. We're going to be back later on with our latest update for the United States, so that'll be coming up like early this evening. Tomorrow we've got our European Outlook weather forecast recap for Europe. We've got JMA Friday coming up as well, month-ahead look at with Japanese and CFSB2 models, and another 10 to 14 day video update will be with you tomorrow as well. For this video though, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.